My name is Bill Morley. I'm one of the assistant directors of the financial aid office here at UTPA. Co-presenting with me is Griselda Castilla. She's one of our associate directors in the financial aid office. And we're going to talk to you, surprise, about financial aid. And for those of you who may have been here for either the high school counselor workshop in December or the College Goal Sunday workshop in early January, don't worry, you're going to see something completely different, so you're not going to be really bored. So we'll try to keep it light, try to keep it entertaining. We're covering some pretty heavy stuff, but we'll try to present it in a manner that's easy to understand, and we'll engage some questions. And anytime you have questions, feel free to just stop us. It's very informal, and we'll take the time and answer the questions. Did everybody get a copy of the 09-10 FAFSA? We have some up here in the front, and there's some going around the room right now too. The official copies from the United States Department of Education were received at their offices yesterday. So they have not sent any out to any schools across the country yet. They should be en route. So what we did is we just printed out the PDF version that was available just so you could see some of the questions that are on there. And there's some pretty significant differences this year on this year's FAFSA. And we'll talk about that a bit. But the theme of today's presentation is yes, there's still money. We hear all these horror stories about the economy right now. People are wondering, are we going to have money to go to school? And yes, there's going to be money. One way or the other, there's money for students to go to college. Now, to get this money, the one thing all students have to do, and you're going to get a lot of resistance on this, is do the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. It's the one document that students need to fill out to be eligible for any type of loans, grants, work study, scholarship. Most scholarships still require FAFSA data, some do not, but we'll talk more about scholarship specifically a little bit later. Now, what kind of resistance do you get from students? Well, my parents make too much money, it's too hard, I don't want to do it, it looks like doing taxes. It's about 15, 20 minutes worth of work for literally thousands of dollars turnaround. I dare anybody to find a job, a legal job, that will give you that type of turnaround, or any type of legal investment that will give you that type of turnaround on your time. Now, when can they start doing this? Right now. Even though the Fed has not sent out the actual paper FAFSAs yet, or the paper worksheets yet, it's available on the web. And 100% recommend doing FAFSA on the web simply because it's faster. When the student does the FAFSA on the web, they put their PIN number, their parents' PIN number, which, by the way, is real time. Remember in the past you had to submit it, wait 24 hours for email, 2 weeks for regular mail. You get it right then and there. The only time a student will not get their PIN number right then and there or be given the option to create their PIN number is if there's a problem with the Social Security match. When the student and the parent enter their Social Security number, it matches against Social Security Administration's database. And if there's something that's real close or there's an error there, it'll time them out and it'll give them a PIN number in about 4 hours. Just enough time for them to do the research. But in most cases, the student's going to get their PIN number right then and there, same for the parents, so they can electronically sign their FAFSA. And when that happens, the student is going to be given an estimated EFC. The EFC, of course, is the estimated family contribution. That's the number that drives financial aid. And just by that number right there, it's not official yet until the schools receive it. Until the schools receive a document called the ICER. That's our version of what the student gets from the federal government. We get that ICER, and that lets us know the student's financial picture and lets us know their EFC, lets us know what they might be eligible for in terms of financial aid. Now, they need to do this pretty soon. What you're going to see more and more of are priority deadlines. Yes, there's money available, but there are some programs where it's very competitive. It's not just need-based anymore. It's need-based versus a time frame, especially in areas like the Valley where we live in such an area. Texas Grant has always been a big program for UTPA. Can we talk about some of the things that are going on with Texas Grant? Yeah. Well, let me explain Texas Grant first, and then we'll talk about something and encourage you to take some action as well. Texas Grant, it was designed to be that gap between low to middle income, because most middle income school students kind of get the short end of the stick in terms of like your Pell Grant and your free aid. It was designed to do that. To get Texas Grant, students must be a Texas resident, cannot be convicted of a felony or crime involving a controlled substance, must have financial need. It's not the criteria for Texas Grant aren't nearly as strict as the criteria for Pell Grant in terms of financial need. They have to have an EFC less than or equal to 4,000. If a student has an EFC of 4,000, they're out of the Pell Grant range. But if they're equal to or less, they'll qualify for some Texas Grant. They have to register for selective service, be a graduate of an accredited high school in Texas, and complete the recommended high school or distinguished high school program. Now, this is one of those programs where money is very limited. We were one of the top schools in Texas, and we still are, in receiving Texas Grant funds. It's just the pool is getting shallower and shallower. So we're still getting proportionately more money than other schools. It's just the overall pool is smaller. And the state is proposing to put some academic requirements on Texas Grant. And that's kind of scary, because the potential for our students to lose their Texas Grant eligibility is a very real possibility at this point. It's at what, a 21 ACT score to be eligible for Texas Grant. And I see the look on some of your faces like, 21 ACT, wow. So a 21 ACT score requirement is being proposed for the Texas Grant. And our administration is lobbying against this. I would recommend you as citizens, as educators, to get involved in this also, because this could have a tremendous impact on our Rio Grande Valley students, no matter what school they go to. Putting this type of criteria on there, this academic criteria, will knock a large percentage of our students out of Texas Grant eligibility. That's valley-wide. So I would recommend, please, become involved in this. Now, another grant, this is a federal grant. This is one of the newer federal grant programs, and this is probably going to be a trend that you see in the federal grant programs. This is the first federal financial aid grant that has an academic component tied to it. It's the Academic Competitiveness Grant. And what this does, it gives them up to $750 on top of what else they've received the first academic year in school, their freshman year, and up to $1,300 the second year, their sophomore year in school. Now, to be eligible for this, of course, they've got to be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. This is new for this year. Eligible non-citizens with permanent residents are now eligible to receive ACG grant, which was not the case last year. They have to be a federal Pell Grant recipient, so they have to have need. They have to have, it could be full Pell, it could be the minimum Pell that they're eligible for, as long as they get some Pell Grant. They have to be enrolled at least half-time in the first or second academic year of his or her program of study at a two-year degree granting institution. Have completed a rigorous secondary school program of study. Of course, if they're graduating distinguished, that'll cover them. If it's a first-year student, could not have previously been enrolled in an undergraduate program. If a second-year student must have at least a cumulative GPA of 3.0 on a 4.0 scale for their first academic year. So to get it their second year, they've got to have a 3.0. So it does carry some academic components to it. It's partner grant. Anybody have any questions before we? Okay. Its partner grant is the SMART grant. This is designed to give students money their junior and senior year in college. They can get up to $4,000 each academic year, their junior year and their senior year in college. To be eligible, they have to be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. Again, eligible non-citizen is new for SMART grant. Must be a Pell Grant recipient. Be enrolled at least half-time. That's new also. It used to be full-time. Be enrolled in a 4-year degree granting institution. They have to be majoring in a physical, life, or computer science program, engineering, math, technology, or critical foreign language. And critical foreign language, there's a website that the federal government lists, and it's mainly your Middle Eastern dialects. And must have a 3.0 GPA on a 4-point scale. Now, student loans. One of the things, student loans have been a big hot button topic for the last couple of years. A couple of years back because of the Sunshine Act. This year because of the economy. We saw a lot of student loan companies getting out of the student loan market. And this is something that we kept a really close eye on here at UTPA. And it appeared that we would lose quite a bit of our top tier student loan lenders, the lenders that most of our students go to. It looked like at the time they were going to be pulling out of the student loan market. So we made a decision to go to a program called direct lending. Direct lending is the exact same type of program as what the traditional student loan program is, the main difference being that students are borrowing the money from the federal government. They're not borrowing it from ABC Bank down the road. The money comes directly from the federal government. There's some benefits to that too. Number one, the turnaround in students receiving their money is exponentially faster. We were looking at about a 2-week turnaround with the lender-based program, which is called FELP. If you hear people say FELP, they mean the students are borrowing from banks. With the direct loan program, the school receives the money and can turn that around to the student in right around a week's time in most cases. So it's a lot faster for students. The terms and conditions are virtually the same, so there's opportunity there for students. Entering freshmen, they must attend a mandatory freshman loan counseling session before they can get awarded loans. This is a default initiative, a loan default initiative. Schools are required to have a default prevention strategy, and part of our strategy is we don't want our students to take out loans their freshman year if they don't have to. When they go to the default prevention workshop, they meet one-on-one with our default officer, and he talks to them about the responsibilities that come with the student loan, because this is something that could have a tremendous impact on the student's future. They have to pay it back whether they graduate or not. So it does carry some weight to it. So he talks to them, lets them know the responsibilities that come with the student loan, and generally gives them the opportunity of choice. A small TPEG grant versus the student loan. And at that point, the student makes the choice. If they still choose to go with the loan, absolutely, they get the loan. But we need to make sure that the student knows the responsibilities inherent to a student loan ahead of time, because it's very, very tempting to get that nice big lump sum check after all your tuition and fees are paid. And you can go buy your plasma and you can go buy your rims and all that fun stuff that kids love these days. So we want to make sure that, yeah, it's really cool to get that big lump sum check and have some money on hand. But you know what? There's responsibilities tied to that check. So we want to make sure that the students at least know what they're getting into. Now, one thing that most students don't realize is there's a federal law that dictates that the first-time loan borrowers receive their loan funds 30 days after the first class day. So if it's their first time borrowing a loan, they're not going to get their loan funds until 30 days after classes start. That's not UTPA's choice. That's not UT Brownsville's choice. That's not A&M's choice. It's not any school's choice. It's the federal government's rules. Now, the subsidized loan, the student has to have financial need. The unsubsidized loan, we can award up to cost of attendance. Now, for entering freshmen, what we're going to do, and again, this is a federal requirement, is before the student asks for an unsubsidized loan, they have to go through a Parent Plus loan first. The Parent Plus loan process is credit-based, meaning the parents have to be creditworthy in order to get it. If the loan gets declined, or if it gets approved and the parents decline it, then we can do the unsubsidized loan. That's to get the parents involved this first year. Because again, it's very, very tempting to get this giant lump sum of money up front. Now, once they get into the loan, start borrowing loans, then their sophomore year and going further, that's not going to be a barrier for them at that point. They'll be able to borrow loans and borrow unsubsidized loans. But at least that first year, there are some restrictions in place to make sure that the students are borrowing responsibly and not going to graduate from a school with a $4,000 a year tuition with $18,000 worth of loans. You know, there's no need for that.
On the first time that you wait 30 days,
Mm-hmm.
do you wait for that payment on your end, or do they have to get what do you call it?
It depends. Now, if the loan is guaranteed, we can hold the classes. We're still able to hold the classes, right? If the loan is greater than their tuition and fees, but they won't get that money until 30 days. Like if they only had $400 of tuition after their grants paid everything else, and that loan is part of it's going to pay that $400, and the rest is going to be a check to them. That extra $400 will be outstanding, and they won't receive a disbursement check until that 30-day period, and the check comes in, and we can turn around and get them a check in their hands. Correct. Excuse me. Now, Senate Bill 1528. This is a state program. It's only in the state of Texas that allows certain non-citizens the ability to receive state-based financial aid. So automatically the pool is very limited for Senate Bill students. They do have some distinct advantages to being Senate Bill, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But basically, Senate Bill 1528, students, they have to have graduated from a Texas high school. They have to have lived in the U.S. 3 years and 12 months prior to graduation from high school. So the 3 years can have some play, and it can overlap with the 12 months prior to graduation, but they need at least 3 years in the U.S., living in the U.S., and be living in the U.S. 12 months prior to graduation. Now what they do is they go to the school's admissions office and they fill out their application as a Senate Bill student. They're going to have to provide an affidavit saying that sometime in the future they're going to apply for permanent residency or citizenship. Doesn't say next month, next week, or even next year or the next 10 years. Just sometime in the near future. Right, it just means that they're going to apply sometime in the future. And it leaves the door open for them. If they can do that, they'll be eligible for state-based financial aid. Now, obviously, the Senate Bill 1528 students aren't going to be able to do the FAFSA as is because it requires a Social Security number, and most of the students in this situation don't have one. It requires a U.S. tax return to do a FAFSA. Most students don't have this. They'll either have an earning statement that their parents get written down from an employer, or they have an hacienda, or they a certain type of foreign tax return. This is where you want to talk to the financial aid office in the different schools that your students are looking at. Most financial aid offices in the state of Texas will have somebody who can help the student do a Senate Bill application. Excuse me. There's two ways you can do it. The state of Texas has a document called the TASFA, not to be confused with the organization TASFA that has two A's. This one only has one, TASFA. What the TASFA is a Texas-based financial aid application. It mimics the FAFSA. It's not required that the students use this document. And the school is given the choice of whether or not they want to work with the TASFA or not. If the student at UTPA, we prefer not to use the TASFA. What we like to do is do it on a dummy FAFSA. We just do the paper application, and we enter their income information into a FAFSA simulator that the Department of Education provides to us, and we use that as our basis for calculations. We do this for one reason and one reason only, mainly because we have a large percentage of our students who become permanent residents during their enrollment period. That way, we've already got the information in the FAFSA format, and we can just convert it very easily and save the student a lot of time and get them eligible for federal. How can we help you? And this will be the same for virtually any school that has an outreach department. We have our entering freshman advisor and our outreach specialist that are kind of combined into 2 positions. Both people can do both. Steve Guerrero and Nicole Luna. Problem solving, unusual cases, dependency overrides, income reductions, verification issues. A student got selected for verification and they're having trouble figuring out what to do. We'll help them. Award status. You know, I did my FAFSA 3 weeks ago and I haven't heard anything from you guys yet. It's already past March 1st. I don't know what's going on. Talk to us. Have the student talk to us. Call us up. We'll work with the students. If you have need for a FAFSA drive on campus, you want somebody to go by, you've got a group of 20, 300 students, whatever it may be, and you want to do FAFSAs for them, let us know. We'll be glad to go out. Presentations to students and parents, help with your Go Center, financial aid fairs, high school nights, special assistance for Senate Bill kids. We'll help you with all of that. My one caveat to that would be, please let us know as early as possible any events that you might be planning. We've got 2 outreach specialists and myself that jump into the mix and are able to help. And a lot of times there'll be multiple events on the same night, but only 3 of us. So please let us know as early as you possibly can. That way we can guarantee that we will be there for you. And this time of year our calendars do fill up kind of quickly, so if you've got something that you're thinking, maybe towards the end of March I want to do something, give us a call. Let us know so we can get you on our calendar. We can guarantee that we're going to be there to help you guys out. Why wait in line? If you've ever been by any school's financial aid office the week that classes start or the week that payment is due, you've seen those horrible, horrible, horrible lines. Students can avoid that. Number one way to avoid all of that is to do your FAFSA early and take care of it all ahead of time. You'll have no need to go to the office. But again, if real life gets in the way, students can go online to utpa.edu/financial aid, accept their awards, request additional money if they're eligible, fill out the Excellent Scholarship application, complete their loan processes, search for their work-study job, sign up for different workshops. Any form that you can get at our counter, you can get on our website. And we have a quarterly newsletter that we put out called the Financial Aid Advisor. So there's a lot that you can do online to help out. At this point, and I know I probably went really over time, but you guys had some really good questions that I wanted to spend some time with. I'm going to turn everything over to Griselda Castilla to talk about scholarships.
Like Bill mentioned, my name is Griselda Castilla, and one of the areas that falls under my supervision are the scholarship programs. And the University Scholars Program hasn't changed, and I know for the upcoming academic year we haven't sent out the notices as far as the students that have qualified so far, but we switched over to a new student system, and our technical staff is trying to recreate the programs that we used to use to identify these students. Because we're doing the process so late, students are not going to be required to do an application. As soon as we know who qualifies, the award letters will automatically go out to them. And there is a cap on the number of students that can be admitted into this program now. Our cap is 106 students. But based on the preliminary counts that I got before fall grades posted, I only had 16 students, so I don't think I'm going to get to that cap. And for that reason also, I'm going to do away with the application, because the application was there in case I had more qualifiers than the slots that I had available. But that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. So the students, as soon as they qualify, and I'm hoping we can get these letters out by next week. As soon as they qualify, 16. I only had 16. No. We're giving a set amount to use each year, and whatever amounts we don't use, our account gets wiped out. So they don't allow me to roll it over and use it for the new academic year. I wish I could, believe me, but it's a constant battle I have with the upper administration as far as funding is concerned. But I should be getting out these letters, and that was before, 16 was only before fall grades posted, and we had tons of students doing concurrent enrollment, taking their ACT scores and AP exams and so forth. Last year, I ended up with 76 students. I also had the 106 cap, and I only ended up with 76 students. So hopefully, I'll at least get closer to the 100. Yes? It's a combination. I mean, there's some students that just stay there, that stay at, they're missing the ACT score by 1 point, or they're lacking that one course that they need to qualify. I sent out the listing to the concurrent enrollment office as far as who were the students that were almost there but were lacking something. So I'm hoping they'll contact your schools and let you know who are your students that need to retake the ACT or take that one more class to qualify for the program. So hopefully Connie's area will be getting that out to you guys already if she hasn't. I'm not sure if she's done that yet, but I'm hoping she will soon.
I have a question on the English and the math. Are students not retaining the B average?
When we put the English and math requirements into the University Scholars Program, before, if some of you recall, the program was open. As long as they had 12 hours of concurrent enrollment or AP credit, they qualified. Well, I had, a couple of hundred students coming in every semester, every year, but not too many of them stayed in the program. So we had to evaluate our students and find the key success indicators, and most of the students that performed well were those that were coming in with English and math courses. So that's one of the requirements that we had to add into the program. And right now, our retention rate for this program, it's about 98%. All the students that come in stay and finish on time. So right now, the current program that we have in place, it's $3,000 and it's renewable for 4 years. As long as they meet the program requirements, which is complete 30 hours every academic year and maintain a 3.0 GPA. No, it's only math and writing. Math and writing. Math and reading, I'm sorry. No, we don't count the writing. Sorry, I apologize. $3,000 for the year, correct. And it's a 4-year renewable scholarship. The other one that Steve and Nicole promoted a lot at the high schools was the Excellence Scholarship. Something new that happened under our provost, Dr. Sell, and our vice president, Dr. Edwards, is that the departments had their own scholarships that they awarded at their leisure whenever they were ready to award. Well, Dr. Edwards and Dr. Sale, like Bill mentioned, want our students to know how much they qualify for in advance. So once they get that financial aid award letter sent out to them in March, we want as much aid as possible to show up on their award letter. So what we did together is we centralized the scholarships. When the students are applying for the Excellence Scholarship, they're just not applying for those scholarships that are handled by the Financial Aid Office. They're also applying for the scholarships that are awarded by all the departments. So when we make those offers in March, when we send out the financial aid award letters in March, it's not only going to include their financial aid and the scholarships from our office, but also those that are awarded by the university departments. So this will be our second year that we do this. So that's, they're applying for over 200 scholarships when they fill out this application.
When you look at this application, do you also base it on need?
We base it on the criteria that each scholarship requires. Some of them do require the FAFSA. The majority don't. A small percent require the FAFSA. The majority are just based on merit, so we're looking at their high school GPA, their high school rank, and their ACT scores. And then there's some that are specific. They have to have graduated from this particular high school or live in a certain city and so forth. So we match up the students based on the donor criteria for each scholarship. The University Honors Program is one of our, what I'm going to highlight next are the top scholarships that we have at our university, like University Scholars, our Excellence, and another one is our University Honors Program. To qualify, our EFs have to have at least a 24 or 1110 SAT or higher, be in the top 10%, and have a 90 plus average high school GPA. What I did is I sent Dr. Buckman, he's in charge of this program now, I sent him a listing of all the students that met this criteria that applied for the Excellence Scholarship. So he can send them invites to apply for the honors program. And if they get accepted into the honors program, then there's a scholarship component that comes with that program. And the awards vary every year, and if they meet the program requirements, he awards them for fall, spring, and he has begun to fund them for study abroad during the summer sessions as well. We have our co-op pharmacy program. This is one that's in conjunction with UT Austin, and entering freshmen have to meet the courses listed above: the 4 years of English, 2 of foreign language, 3 of math, 3 of science, and 3 of social studies. The deadline for this one already passed to get into this program. It was January 15th, but it'll be January 15th of every year. That way, I wanted to include it, that way you can have it for the next round. It's between 10 and 12 slots. Yeah, it's a very competitive program. The good thing with these, correct. The good thing about these co-op programs is when these students are transferring into those universities, they have a better chance of getting admitted. They're not competing with all the other students nationwide that are trying to get into these medical schools and medical programs. Similar to the pharmacy is the Baylor Pre-Med. Dr. Weddick also only allows 12 students in every year as well. Just like the pharmacy program, there's a lot of competition to get into medical school, but if they get into our Baylor Pre-Med program, and that's Dr. Weddick's information, or our MSAP program, which is run by Dr. Scott Gunn, if they get admitted into these medical programs at our university, their chance of getting admitted into the medical schools are much higher. Like I mentioned, they don't have to compete with other students nationwide as they would if they were not part of these programs. They're very competitive programs.
Do you have the criteria for the pharmacy scholars?
If they have these, they go through an interview process, and actually I added their website at the bottom, and it goes into more detail as far as what the interview and the application process is that they have to go through. Our other medical program is the MSAP program, and I also included Dr. Gunn's information, and the deadline for that particular scholarship program is today as well. Baylor Pre-Med is with the College of Baylor, and then the MSAP is with Galveston. Correct. And our other scholarship is our UTPA Housing Scholarship. For those of you that have students that reside outside of Hidalgo County, this is also a 4-year renewable scholarship and to pay for on-campus housing. And it's $2,000 per academic year. It's $1,000 per semester. We have our student leadership program, and this is also for students that demonstrate leadership ability. This one's got a scholarship component as well. It's $1,500 per year, $750 per semester. This is for the fall and spring as well. And students are encouraged to apply as well. And no, this one's not need-based. This is just based on leadership ability. No, the housing, the Baylor Pre-Med, and the MSAP, none of those are need-based. Those are just basically academic. Correct. There's a couple of, right now during this time, there's other scholarships that are being offered, that are being promoted by different organizations. One, of course, is our ROTC program, and some of these students don't realize that if they're interested in serving in our military forces, they can have all of their undergraduate and graduate career paid by the ROTC program. And there's a lot of criteria on this, but we'll go ahead and skip forward through this. And like Bill mentioned, we have two. Yeah, we'll go ahead and email it. Actually, the ROTC department sent this to us after we had already done the packages for this conference. But Bill will probably get the listing from Connie, and we'll get the remainder of these slides out to you. Because I know there's a lot of interest right now in the ROTC programs just because of the benefits that they provide with the undergraduate and the graduate tuition and fee programs. Like Bill mentioned, the business cards are up at the exit for Nicole and Steve. Please contact them or any